Beautiful. All right. Thank you so much. All right. So, Set, you can just let people come in, and otherwise, we will get started.
Yeah, yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone, for coming here tonight. Really, really excited to have you all here. I haven't done a media masterclass for a couple of years now, and I just got the download probably about 4 weeks ago that I need to do this. So here we are, and I'm really excited because this is something that I could talk about for hours. I'm really, really, really passionate about it and believe that anyone who's in business can get free media publicity. Okay, so what we're going to go through tonight is understanding how the media works, understanding how you and your business fit into the media landscape, learning how to speak a bit about media speak, and how you can use mainstream media, so TV, radio, print, and podcasts, to build your profile, your credibility, and your profits. Yay! Because we all want to do that. And before we dive into everything, I did want to remind you all that I've never done this before, so this is also very exciting, that one of you who is live on the call with me tonight is going to win a media release written by me for your business, which is valued at easily around $1,200 to $1,500. So very, very excited. So stay on till the end. And Lisette has a really special slide. We're going to do a bit of a spin the wheel, and someone here is going to get a media release written, which is super, super cool. All right, so let's get into it. Let's have a little bit of chat about publicity. And for those of you who don't know me that well or aren't aware of my business journey, I started my first business back in 2010. And my husband works offshore. He works on an oil rig. So he is what we deem FIFO, fly in, fly out. And back in 2010, I was working really closely with a mentor around financial freedom and how do you do that, and how does that happen. And one of the tools that he taught, there's 4 tools, and one was starting a business. And that intrigued me. And my mentor was a multi-millionaire, had started several businesses from scratch and got them all to $1 million status. And so he was mentoring people to do this. And we were sitting together in a cafe in Perth in 2010 in Cicerello's, and I had 3 young kids at the time, and they were 6 months, 3 and 4.5. And I said to him, how can I do anything when I've got 3 kids, 4.5 and under, on my own for a month, just running solo, like I'm drowning. And he said to me, if this is a problem for you, it's a problem for others. And that was a really profound moment, because I thought, far out, there's thousands and thousands of families around the country who are living this FIFO lifestyle, and they have no idea how to navigate it. There is no tool book. There is no induction for families. You're just thrown into it and expected to, parent on your own for, well, weeks on your own. So I thought, right, I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to start this company called FIFO Family. So we drew 20K down from the mortgage, and I started. I'd never run a business before, had no idea what I was doing, but I had my mentor there to help me along the way. And so we're just thinking about the strategy and how we're going to grow the business. And what was really important to me was helping people, right? I have a very strong value around helping others. I have a Bachelor of Arts in Rural Social Welfare. I'm a qualified secondary teacher as well. I just love to help people. So it was really clear that the message for me was to let other predominantly women, so at the time there was 110 FIFO workers around the country, probably half of those had a partner at home. So I wanted to reach them and let them know that, hey, there's a community here for you that you can tap into. You don't have to do this alone. We'll organise meetups around the country, and we'll get you the help that you deserve and you need. And then the thing was, well, how do I get this out there? Facebook was only really just starting back in 2010. There was no Facebook ads. There wasn't even Facebook groups back then. So social media was very new. I thought, right, how am I going to make this work? And quite quickly, I fell into media interviews. And I'm just going to show you a little video. Hopefully this works okay. Here we go.
Yeah, there's a lot of increased stress and anxiety out there, as you can imagine at the moment. It's just a different lifestyle. It doesn't work for everyone, and it is a choice. Clear financial goals while you are in FIFO, and being aware that the more you earn, the more you'll sleep. Is the airport a place to sleep? I'm not sure. There's this perception that FIFO workers can suck it up. I think it's fantastic. There's some great rosters around. Neither of us were given any indication, any induction at all.
Is that the person that you're talking to? Does she see me?
No, she can't see you. I'm just watching a show.
All right. So from that, you can see I really like to change my hair. Just can you mute yourself, please, gorgeous? Thank you. Yeah, you can see I really like to change my hair. But apart from that, it's just a bit of really a snapshot of the hundreds of media interviews I've done. And there's just a bit of a, again, just a snapshot of some of the media that I have done over the years. Oops. No, we don't want to do that again. And it's also led to really cool awards. So once I started doing media interviews on a regular basis, because I was the first mover in the FIFO space, and in 2010, there was a real boom in WA and Queensland, and I positioned myself as a first mover. Well, I didn't really do it strategically. It just happened. And my first interview was on ABC Radio Perth, and I was so nervous. It was actually talkback radio, and I was sitting at home. A friend had told me, hey, you know, they're looking for FIFO wives to talk to. So I rang up. My palms were sweaty. My heart was racing. I was so nervous. And then when I got onto the radio, I didn't actually even mention FIFO families. And I got off the air, collapsed on the bed. All this adrenaline was just streaming out of my body. And I thought, you idiot, you didn't even mention your business. So I rang up ABC Radio. So here's a tip. ABC Radio are really great because they don't really have strong gatekeepers. So you can ring up and say, hey, I just want to send a media release through to the producer of the Drive program. And they say, sure, this is the email address. So I did that, emailed the producer, who's the one that vets people when you do talkback, and said, you know, I was just on air. I forgot to mention I've started this because the media are really wary when businesses approach them for stories. And that was really how it started. My internet stable's unstable. My internet's unstable. I hope it doesn't glitch out. Apologies if it does. So yeah, it's led to awards. The photo here on the right, that's me at the launch of the NBN. And there's a whole heap of politicians. 40 awards in Perth, as well as Telstra Business Awards. And it just catapulted things for me to the next level. So who would like to know? Show me your hands up if you want to know what some of the publicity outcomes can do for you. Who wants to know? Who wants to know? Yeah, awesome, excellent. Thanks, Lee. Thanks, Shana. So it's really cool, right? Because what the media can do, it can increase your profile. It can give you credibility. So if you think about somebody wants to work with you and they're not quite sure, and they go to your website and they might look at your news section or your media tab and see that you've been interviewed on, let's say if it's the Courier or the Herald Sun, the Townsville Times, maybe the Today Show, that immediately gives you credibility. Okay, so it's like, ooh, they must be good. It also increases your trust with your customers, because if you're in the media, you're perceived to be trustworthy if you're in the media for the right reasons, of course. Maybe not if you're an ex-union boss. And then it can also lead to repeat exposure. So repeat exposure is really exciting because that's where you go onto the call list of the media, which is really, really cool. It leads to speaking opportunities because people hear, see you, read about you, and so you get to be known within your particular niche. So for me, being in the mining and oil and gas industry, and I actively networked with all the politicians. So I was very apolitical, and I was warned very early on in my journey, be apolitical, do not take sides, which I didn't, but I would strategically go and talk to all the ministers and just build the way up until I eventually got a meeting with the Premier Colin Barnett back at the time. And it was great because that then led me to being invited to speak at industry forums, so big mining, oil and gas forums, to share my experience of being a FIFO wife and mum and what we were seeing. So it can lead you to be the go-to. And like some of you, oh my God, you're in such beautiful niches. Like Jess, you with your, what do you call it? What is the word?
Prefab building.
Prefab building.
Yes.
Thank you. That's such a hot topic, right? And Liv, I know you're in here as well. You with your industry into real estate. Oh my God, they talk about real estate all the time. Like just on Sunrise the other morning, I saw a bit of an ad for talking about properties with, you know, the highest growth. And I was thinking, oh, Liv, that could be you, but talking about entry-level points for people to get in. Like the media are always looking for these stories. I know we've got quite a few coaches on here as well. The media is a really great way for you to nail your area of expertise in the media and become the go-to, particularly if you're in that women and female empowerment. So it's super, 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 super cool. And if you have any questions, maybe just pop them in the chat, and I can't see them, but Seth will let me know if they're coming up. So feel free to ask questions as we go. Rule of procession. So what really surprised me was when I started FIFO Families, I was on this very clear mission of helping and supporting families in creating this community where they could come to meet other families, so that predominantly if you're doing a couple of weeks on your own and you're exhausted and your baby's not sleeping, you can ring someone within a 5K kilometre radius and say, please help. That was the core essence of what really drove what I did. And so that was my journey, right? I'm going from A to B. But then you have this drop down, right? This is the rule of procession, this drop down that comes out of that. And that for me was the media. I'd never, ever planned to do any media interviews, but it just happened. And then that led me. So I sold FIFO Families in 2015 and then started High Profit Media because I thought, damn, these media interviews can so quickly elevate your business and position you as the go-to in your niche. That you don't even have to do any advertising. It's so powerful and it's so much fun. So you're in the right place tonight if you're looking for speaking opportunities, if you're looking for business growth, if you're in the not-for-profit sector, if you're an entrepreneur, or if you're a coach. I'm so excited that you are here. And I'm not a journalist. I do not have a degree in PR or comms or journalism. But I have been trained by a former journalist. I did I think a 3-day workshop with her in Perth. It was just media release after media release after media release. As I said, I've done hundreds of media interviews myself. So I intimately understand from both sides what the media are looking for, and then what we need to do as business owners to get our story and our message out to the media. And like this photo here, obviously, I'm not looking like a business person there. I'm very much looking like a mum, and wasn't even thinking about how I should be presenting myself to companies. So this was in the Australian, and a freelance journalist came to my house to interview me. So freelance journalists have much more time. They're not under the grind as daily journos are. And this woman interviewed me. Her name was Vicky. And we ended up, this photo of my little family here, on the front page of the Inquirer section of the Australian. And I'd only been in business probably about a year when this ran. And that was the Saturday. And then the Monday when we got into the office, we had phone calls and emails from mining companies and oil and gas companies that had the executives and the CEOs had read this and went, right, what are you doing? We need to know what you're doing. We need to work with you. So powerful, because you never know who is going to read an article or listen to a radio interview or see you on TV or listen to on your podcast, because it's almost like that third degree of separation or being twice removed, that it could be somebody's grandmother that's listening and they tell their daughter, or it could be, you know, an executive that's listening to your interview or reading it. It's so powerful. It's good fun. So tune in, because what I teach works. I've taught business owners this over and over and over and over, and I love it. I get so excited when they get results. And I'm really, happy to help you become that business of choice as well. So we're going to jump into the 3 me's. Okay, so media, message, and medium. if I can, right. So the media is a 24-hour beast, 24 hours now, and it demands content all of the time, and they feed off each other's stories. So for example, so I'm living in Ballarat at the moment. So if you're in the Courier, which is the local newspaper, you might easily end up on one of the radio stations such as 3BA or Power FM, and you could easily end up in the Ballarat Times as well, because what the media do is they all look at each other. So the producer, for example, the Sunrise show, I know that the anchors, the presenters, start their day at 3:45 a.m. So the producers would have to start before then, and they turn to ABC Radio to see what the breaking stories are, and then they start to frame bits of pieces of the show that need to be padded out for the daily things and news and such. And they'll always look across to other media mediums out there. So often, if I was on ABC Radio, I might then pop up on the West Australian in Perth, for example. So what we also need to remember, and maybe you haven't considered this before, maybe you have, is that the media are a business too. So when you hear about ratings for radio and readership, they need to be in business as well. And that's why a lot of the commercial companies have ads, but they're a business as well. So they want people who can present well, who know their topic, and who are passionate and who are reliable. Oops, I've got to click down here. And yeah, so as I said, engaging content, stories, and people, and they love a strong human element. So what do I mean by strong human element? That's about attaching your story to a bigger story that might be out there, but also using emotion and stories. So if you think about how we're hardwired to learn, if you think about caveman times, and even through Indigenous communities and learning, it's all through that verbal and stories being passed down. So we're hardwired to learn through stories, and we love emotion. So that's why it's really important in media releases to include quotes, because that helps put some juice and chunk into your media release. And they also want reliable sources who are passionate and who know their stuff. So if the media ring you for an interview, and quite often daily media might ring you and say, hey, can you go on air in 2 hours, or can we come to your house at 3 o'clock to do a media interview? And even though you might be completely shitting yourself, you say, yes, 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 yes. Always say yes to the media if that interview can get you in front of your ideal customers. And don't ever send a media release out and the next 24 hours you might be busy. So if you're going to be at the hairdressers for a few hours or you're in meetings, don't do that. Make sure that you can answer your phone, or that somebody can answer your phone for you, and they'll generally ring from a private number. Sometimes, yeah, no, actually that's not true. Quite often they'll come through as a mobile, so you want to save their mobile number to your phone, but obviously it will be a number that you won't recognize for your first interview. So how do they work? Daily, weekly, monthly media. So if you're thinking about daily newspapers, then you've got daily TV shows and radio as well. Then you might have weekly publications for some newspapers. A lot of magazines are monthly. So if you're thinking about women's fitness, men's health, the Women's Day, a lot of those are monthly. So any journos that are working for those, under the daily, they are under the pump. Anyone who is in the daily media is under the pump, and they generally mean for a living. So Dan Ziffer is a reporter, a journo, and a producer for ABC. He's been on radio and TV, and he says the media are full of nice people who are mean for a living, because they won't return your emails and they won't return your calls. I don't ever ring anyone in the media. I do emails only. And if they don't reply, that means the story hasn't hit the mark. So it's not somebody that you go and chase. They do not like it. And I've been to many Meet the Media events with the likes of Darren Hinch and producers of radio shows and newspapers. And yeah, if they say daily media, don't hammer us. Make things as easy for us as you can. And it's best to approach these guys, daily media, early in the morning. So I'll typically send off a media release around 7 a.m. I'll use a scheduler tool to send that out, because you want to get in their inbox really early. weekly. If you're living in an area like you're on the Gold Coast and you have your local newspaper that comes out weekly, you want to know what day it publishes. So if it comes out on a Thursday, typically you want to be emailing them maybe on like a Monday or a Tuesday, because Wednesday they're generally Tuesday, Wednesday they'll be putting the paper together and then it will go to print. So don't email right on their deadline, if that makes sense. And who do you send your media releases to? Who do you contact in the media, right? This is a really big question that I'm asked a lot. TV, it's producers, and radio, it's producers, because they're the decision makers. Editors for anything that's print, and journalists. Journalists are great because they'll take the stories to their producers and editors and chief of staff and say, hey, look what I've got. I've got this really great story that Lee has pitched to me. What do you reckon we give her an interview? And journalists are good if you're in a small area. So I know we've got quite a few people here from the Gold Coast and Ballarat tonight. You can see who's written the article. So say if somebody's written a really cool article on, let's say real estate, and you think, I actually like that article, but I've got something I want to say that's a bit different about that. You can email that journalist direct and say, hey, I read your article, loved it. Here's my thoughts, here's a media release, for example. And once you build those relationships with journalists, it's really cool because you can go straight to them and it's a really nice shortcut. So I've got quite a few journos in Ballarat that I know I can send stories to for clients, and they've got a really good chance of being picked up. And same when I was in Perth, I had a lot of journalists that I would pitch stories to. They would come to me looking for talents. They might want a FIFO worker working out of, Bunbury in Perth or up north. So it's a real reciprocal relationship, which is really, really cool. And the media are always looking for stories. I cannot stress this enough. Cannot stress it enough. Always they're looking for stories. So why not yours? Why not your story? So many opportunities for you. I hope you're feeling the enthusiasm through the screen because, gosh, there's so many opportunities, so many opportunities. And then when we're speaking with the media, the most effective way to communicate with them, if you don't have any relationships with journalists, producers, editors, chief of staff, is writing a media release. That is the most effective way to get their attention. So there is definitely a formula to writing a media release. And the most important thing is the headline or the hook. And once you know how to do that, your life becomes so much easier in the media game because you can send out stories as often as you want or as little as you want, but it'll be formatted in the correct way that the media like to receive it, and that will be written in a way that they can quickly skim it and go, yep, this is a great story. We're going to get Cherie in today. So that's how they like to be spoken to or communicated with. And then you come to your message, right? Why is it that you're going to pitch a story to the media? So you need to understand, what is your story? So if you think about when I was saying at the beginning about FIFO families, that was really about me being very, very attached to my why. So for me, yes, I was nervous going into the media. Like I said, that first radio interview and doing TV is quite nerve-wracking for sure. But what kept me focused was there's these families that I need to help. There are families that desperately need my assistance. And I would get messages from these families that would see us on, for example, the Today Tonight show, which doesn't exist anymore. But the first time we were on the Today Tonight show, we had over 6,000 hits to the website. And I quickly learned for the next 2 times that I would be on that show in the next 80 months to have a sign up button, because I didn't have that. Hello, new to business. Didn't have that. So I wasn't capturing the people that were coming in, but they would message me and say, I've been searching for something like your business for so long, thank you for doing that. So knowing your why and being really attached to that and using that as your motivation and your drive to get over your fear, okay? Identify with your why, identify with your story and own it, and then start looking for the opportunities. Start tuning into the radio. Have a look through the news sites, see what stories are trending and think, could I comment? Can I comment? Is this relevant to what I do? And just really breathing into that. What do you really want? What do you really want? So if you want a multi 6-7 figure business, the media will help you get there. It will fast track you. Okay. It means about 3 to 5 media interviews a year is all you need for you to be on speed dial with the media. That's it. 3 to 5 media interviews. And then it's about you getting out of your own way, stepping out of the fear, focusing on that why you're here, why you're doing this with your business, the people that you want to reach. And what you seek is right in front of you. It's right in front of you. And you are good enough. You are worthy. You are good enough to be in the media. People want to hear what you have to say. Trust me, they really, really do, because I know every single person on this call and you're all absolutely incredible. So how much would it typically cost to have a media release written? Is it all right if I tell you just a really quick story? Is it all right just to share a really quick story about my first media release that was written for me? Is that all right? Yep. Cool. Thank you. So when I'd started 5 Fair Families and I was doing this learning with my mentor, there was a journalist, Michelle, in the group, and she said, Nikki, you need to get in the West Australian. You need to tell people what you're doing. I was like, oh, how do I do that? This was for print. And she said, we're going to write a media release. Let's go to a cafe. So we met at a really cool cafe in East Fremantle, probably for about an hour, hour and a half. And what Michelle basically did was she interviewed me. So she got the background about why I'd set up the company, what I was hoping to achieve. And we had an upcoming event, our very first event, our very first family get together at Kings Park on the coming Saturday. So she said, let's hit up the West Australian. So we did that, right? We got into the West Australian, and about a week later, she turned around and sent me an invoice. Now, this was in 2010. She sent me an invoice for $1,500. $1,500. I wasn't prepared for that. That wasn't discussed. It was a bit of a shock to the system. And I managed to negotiate her down, because what happened was, this is a very grainy picture, but this is in my mum's fridge. This is the very first time we're in the West Australian. So here's me, my little family, and like my kids are all teenagers now. So it's really sweet to see this. But yeah, Angelina was 1. So that means I've been running the business for 6 months. So 6 months in, this was our first print. And then what was amazing was I would, so the West Australian came and took a photo of us at that event. And then people that knew me, I'd see them at Touch Footy and down the street that week. They're like, oh, we saw you in the paper. We saw you in the paper. Oh, we saw you in the paper. I was like, damn, that got some legs. That got a bit of cut through. So you just, again, you never know who's watching. So the message, what is your story? Why are you building prefab homes? Why are you coaching women? Why do women need to be empowered? Why are you in real estate? Why do you have some of the best bloody lamb shank pies, Rob, in Western Victoria? Kel, with your bio well, why do people need to know this about their health and wellness? Okay. Even though we've got quite a few coaches on this call, no one's story is the same as yours. And Lee, your story is beautiful because, you know, it starts with your health, and then, you know, and giving too much, and then into where you are now. So just know that nobody's story is ever going to be the same as yours, and that positions you as unique and authentic. Remembering what drives you, why you set up your business, and what are the outcomes that you seek. Is it a not-for-profit that you're running? Do you want more customers? Do you want to grow your business? Are you running in events? Are you doing even just with your having your open, where you're having the open tours for the factories? That's something that you could 100% pitch to 3BA, the Courier, and the Ballarat Times as well, every time you do it. Yeah, so you might have, as I said, these different things. You might have an opinion piece or an advocacy. You might be doing some research into the local community, like a poll. You might have results of research that you want to share. We did that in Perth. We had another big research piece with another company. So we used the media to promote the research that we had. Could be awareness, website launch. There's so many different things. And it's always really great to have a call to action as well. I'm just going to do a time check here. So looking for the opportunities, right? This is someone in Perth, Honor. She had property. She was a property manager, and she had this new way of charging everybody the same flat fee, no matter how much your rent was. So she got interviewed in the West and also the radio station. And this photo was really beautiful because it was in the business location, and the full photo, you can see her name, Seaview, and her web address and phone number. I'm like, damn, does it really get any better than that? And your message and your story, they're your media vehicles. That's what's going to take you to the moon, right? Your message and your story, and knowing your ideal customers. Okay, so who is your ideal customer, your avatar, and knowing that you can't market to everyone because you get lost in a sea of sameness. So being really clear on who your audience is and what are the media that they consume. So are they watching TV? Or are they not watching TV? Are they getting their news from social media or a news app? Maybe they're listening to the radio in the car. So that's really important to know, because that can really help you position where you need to go. And then when you have your media interviews, it's really great to share them. So setting up a news section on your website, if you're intending to do a bit of media every year, and sharing it on social media and on LinkedIn, like letting people know, because not everyone's going to see it, right? But you can then share it on there, and it just shows that you can, again, be that go-to. These are just some of my clients over the years, just to give you a bit of a visual. So many of them, pretty much everyone that does my media workshop gets publicity. And this is just two local people. Malcolm here from Cubby House, 7 years in business, doing it really tough at the moment, and had never had any media. So I was doing some work with him, and it was International Beer Day a couple of weeks ago. So I wrote a media release, and bang, he sent it out. Hello, and he's in the crib, which is great. And Di down here from the Shared Table, she's out in Buninyong, and they've shut down the pub. The pub has been shut down for renos. She's got a beautiful restaurant, and she rang me and went, Nikki, the pub's shutting. We're going to do some pub meals to help the people that can't go to the pub, and we're going to do them at an affordable price. Do you think that's newsworthy? I'm like, hell yeah, Di. So she was on the front page of the Courier on a Saturday. We strategically timed that. She has been booked out, which is amazing, because she was also struggling, as all hospitality venues are at the moment. So a huge, huge game changer for her. Got some testimonials here from clients that I've worked with. This is Jake, he's in Bacchus Marsh. Yeah, gained a lot of clarity of what actually takes to get into the media and use it to grow personally and professionally. One of the best workshops I've ever done, super relevant. And then he says here, I love this. By the way, I've secured a monthly column for the newspaper that allows me to showcase what I do. Love that for Jake. Megan, this is someone in Perth. And, you know, she says, before I started working with Nicole, I thought I knew how to craft a press release. Boy, was I wrong. She has done probably hundreds of media interviews since I worked with her as well, across the country. And importantly, this has brought new clients directly to us, clients that would otherwise not have known about us. And this is Grace. Grace is very passionate about educating women about finances, particularly immigrants. And she said here, you know, I was somewhat skeptical about whether I would have time and resources to increase my media exposure. However, my knowledge won her over, demystifying the media. And then she's used her media tools for free. And she has been, yeah, Australia-wide featured. So she is brilliant and a go-to. This is Cara. She, within 2 weeks, was a regular on Channel 9's The Pulse, and is also interviewed on Today Tonight, and highly recommends my media training. Which is pretty cool. So is it all right if I just go into what's next? Is that all right if I just talk about what's next? Show of hands. Yes, excellent. Thanks, Annie. Thanks, Belinda. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so what I'd really love to talk about for a minute is a 4-week media mastery container. So this is a workshop I've been running for years, since 2015. I used to charge around $3K for 2 days. Obviously, I'm not going to charge that today. And we're going to do it a bit differently. So we're going to break it down into 4 1.5-hour Zoom sessions. They'll be recorded. They're going to be on a Monday night. I'll also have a WhatsApp group that we can use for support. And I'll jump into that WhatsApp every Friday morning after we start from 9 to 10 a.m. to answer any questions. You'll also have me on call to send your media releases to, so I can proof them before you send them out. So we'll just go through how the media work. We'll unpack your business story for those who aren't sure about what it is. I'll teach you the foundations of a media release. You will write a minimum of 3 media releases. So that's easy, $3,500 of value there. You'll know who to send your media release out to and when. We'll get you prepared for the interview, promoting the interview, leveraging the interview. So what do you do after you've had that? And we'll also set up your media calendar and media strategy, which is so cool. You'll also receive these other freebies. So I'll give you my media release template plus 3 media releases that you can use just to as a structure. I also have an Australian-wide media contact list. It is a bit older. It's from 2018, but a company that I was working with, we paid $4,000 for that. So it lists every single media outlet in the country, TV, radio, and print, and the email address format. So if the person might have changed, we still have their email address, which is highly valuable. I'll give you my PR booklet, which is about 68 pages of a workbook that you can work through at your own pace, but we'll go through a lot of it on the call. A free 15-minute call prior to kicking off, just so that you know, right, I'm ready to go, and we can identify the opportunities for you. And yeah, you'll have a minimum of 2 media releases, but I'm really confident you will get 3 written in that time. So total value is just over $7,000. And when I was in Perth, I was doing a 2-day workshop for $3,000. But I'm not going to do that today. We've just got some super specials for you. So if you want to pay in full for this, it's just $797, 1 payment up front. Okay, that's the most, I guess, the best value. If $797 is a little bit out of your cost at the moment, you can do 4 weekly payments of $250, or you can do 3 monthly payments of $350. And Lisette's going to put those links into the chat box, so you can pick which one feels best for you or is easier for you. So before weekly sessions, 1 to 1.5 hours, all recorded, and you'll have the WhatsApp for support, and you can email me your media releases as you are going. And for the first time ever, this is also part of the prompt for me to jump in and do this with you, is I'm going to show you how to use AI, so ChatGTP, to write your media releases. Now, this is a game changer because it will save you time and money. Yes, you can go into ChatGTP and get them, it'll write you a media release now in about 30 seconds. Is it good enough? No, it's missing the foundations. Okay, so it's okay, but it's not going to land you a media release. But once you know the foundations of a media release and what needs to be in it, then you can punch that into ChatGTP and it will just blow your media release out of the water. It's so cool. So cool. I love it. I love it. So it's just going to be really great. And that's why we can fast track this training. It doesn't have to be 2 days, because once you've got the foundations and you know what to do, then we can move that into ChatGTP. Yay, so exciting. You might be sitting there thinking, oh, I don't think I can do this because I don't want to look stupid in the media. You won't. What if I stuff up in camera? Don't worry. Nobody knows that you're going to stuff up unless it's you. And even like with some of the media I've shown you, I opened on today going, so it's normal, okay? We are humans. What if the media ask me questions I don't know? They're only going to ask you questions about your business and your area of expertise. I promise, I promise, I promise. They're not going to ask you about Trump election if that is not your area, or the American US election if that's not your area of expertise. But if you are a leadership coach, you could definitely talk about the US elections. Oh, I'll be so nervous. I'm not sure I can do it. Yes, I totally understand that. I have some methods to calm your nervous system and to really keep you centered and grounded throughout your interviews. And you might be thinking, but wait, I'm not an expert in my field. You don't have to be an expert. You just have to know your business and what you do inside out. That's really what matters here. And obviously, I'm here to support you. We're going to start Monday, the 9th of September. Woo! At 6:30 p.m. As I said, if you can't make all the sessions or you can't, for whatever reason, I will record them. I will email them to you. So you will have all of that information there with the WhatsApp group as well. All right. I'm going to throw it over to Lisette, and she's going to spin the wheel, and we're going to see who tonight is going to win the media release for their business.
Yep. So thank you everyone for joining here on Nikki's masterclass.
Do you want me to
I'm
stop sharing, Seth?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So first I want to capture this moment. I want to take a photo of all of us here. Yeah. First, I want to take a photo of all of us. All right. I'm
Okay.
gonna. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna. Okay, can everyone smile? 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you. Hold on. And now I'm gonna share my screen.
Yeah, you share screen. Let's spin the wheel. This is pretty
Yep.
cool. I love seeing
Is
this.
everyone can see my screen?
Not yet. Now we can.
All right, cool. All right, so the moment of truth. I'm gonna spin it now.
Okay.
Congratulations, Jess Kelly.
Jess! Awesome. Yoo-hoo! Jess, that's so cool.
Wow, thank you. If there's anyone who needs it, it's me. Shit. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Lisette.
Oh, awesome. Woohoo!
Wow.
Wow, that's so cool. Oh, I'm very excited to work with you to get either of your businesses out there. Awesome, awesome. All right, let's have a look. Okay. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? So we've got the payment systems in there. Excellent, Liv. We'll have a chat. High-end consult. Do I have so Liv, do you have high-end consultancy that does more of it if I pay you more? So do you want more of a done for you service, Liv, rather than do it yourself? Because yes, I can do that for you as well. 100%. 100%. Any other questions? So yes,
I had a question.
Yes.
Sorry. Hi. Thanks for that, Nikki. That was really great. I just asked a question at the top there. Just if your paying customer is different to the people that actually benefit or who the business is about, I'm guessing that in a media release or a media story, you'd be trying to pepper in messages that are kind of aimed at the paying customer, but are also about the beneficiary. So you're getting interest from both. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Sure. Yep. Yeah, definitely. And even if it was more about the beneficiary of that, and the businesses saw you in the media with those messages coming through, I'm assuming that would work really well as well, because they're seeing you helping the people that need it. Is that correct? Do you want to give a bit more of an example?
I mean, that answers my question.
Okay,
It's
cool.
Yeah, that's fine. It's basically, yeah, we run programs for a particular cohort of people, but they're not paying for those programs. We want customers to be, Commonwealth government or other interested organisations to actually pay it. So, and they do that for different motivations than what the beneficiaries have.
Yeah, for sure that will work, because if you think about FIFO families, I was always the advocate for the families, right? This is what needs to change. This is how we can do it. This is what we need to be aware of. But the customers who were paying was the companies. So it was the companies that would pay me to work with them, or advertisers that wanted to reach these, high net worth families. So yeah, exact same. So I was very much about end users, but that wasn't who was paying. So yes, you can do that. Yes, for sure. Any other questions from anybody? For those, if we've got anyone here who's in Enagic, for example, or any other MLing companies, the media is something that you probably, to be honest, you don't want to do, because they will research you, right? So if you've not been in the media before, they'll research who you are, and they might go to your website or your social media. And if they see that you're linked to an MLM, that's going to be challenging for you to get media interviews. But if you want to talk further to me about that, really happy to have a chat. But you don't generally see a lot of network marketers in the media, just to let you know, because I know that we probably had a few people here. But yeah, if you're looking to be, you know, the bit of the go-to in your area, this is definitely for you. Any other questions? I thought we'd have some questions. No? Okay, thank you everybody for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry I have gone over. Apologies. As I said, I can just talk forever about this. I'm so passionate about it. Oh, Rhonda's got a question. Do you want to take yourself off mute, Rhonda?
I have tried to, like I've done some advertising in Queensland Country Life, and I've also contacted a journalist for, I basically have been trying to set up an Outback women's circle, and I haven't had any joy whatsoever. So yeah.
I would say that is probably the way that you're pitching, how you're pitching the story, because there's a really fine balance, and there's a fine balance when we're in business and how we approach the media, but also just the way that you tell the story. So from that perspective, it'd be really important to talk about why you're setting up that women's group and what the benefits are and why it's needed in that particular area. And that's really all you need to do, really. And then send it to somebody. You want to send it to the editor of the paper, or if you see a journalist that's writing, you know, if you like the way they're writing, or they've written a story about, I don't know, women's issues or something.
A bit about the editor. I wrote down who to contact, you know, the individual journalist and the other thing you were talking about, but I forgot, I didn't hear the bit about the editor. So
the editor is generally, that's for print. So it can be the chief of staff or the editor of the newspapers. They're the decision makers. But they can also be, thanks, Jacqueline. Thanks, Shana. They can actually be quite hard sometimes to pitch to as well. So I like to try and find a journalist first. And then if it's a local group, like if it's a smaller town, that should be easier to do, because quite often you can meet them at networking events, or you can just send them an email with your story, with your media release, and that's a really great way to do it.
I think the difficult thing from my perspective is I'm trying to get out to a lot of really small rural areas, and or even regional, and it's just the contact point, and obviously not a lot. I can't get a hold of the papers, and a lot of them are paywalled now. So just the, you know, getting through without sort of trying to contact, you know, 300 people Australia-wide, but it looks like that's maybe what I'm going to have to do.
I wouldn't. It would just be finding your local newspaper, and even though they've got paywalls, that's cool. If you scroll right down to the bottom of their website, there'll be a contact us. You can always ring and just say, "Hey, I want to send a media release to. Who's it best to send to?" And they'll give you an email address, whether it's one of a journalist or the editor or a general one. There are always ways to get around it, Rhonda. Always. And the regional and remote would be even easier to get. Like, so if you're pitching to a rural or remote media outlet opposed to a city one, it's much easier to get that traction, because all they want is local stories rather than opposed to a big city. So 100% you will be able to get media interviews for doing a women's group, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cherie has said here, I've done many media interviews. Yes, you have, over the years, mostly not-for-profit and social enterprise. I feel that it's far easier to get media support and interest for such things rather than Lux travel chauffeur. Yeah, I understand that, Cherie, for sure. And I'd probably have to agree and say that, yes, you potentially be easy to get media interviews for that, but definitely it's about the way that you pitch. So even like for Mother's Day would be perfect for you, Cherie, because of the link of your business with your mum. And then having, you know, chauffeur-driven luxury day outings for other mums, you know, that's a really great way. You could be talking about women in business, starting a business in a regional area, transitioning from the not-for-profit space into a commercial space. So many things to talk about.
Sure. It's just interesting what you kind of become comfortable with, and that's your, you know, it's your comfy space, and then you start having to think differently because it's a completely different kind of product, you know.
Yeah, for sure. You've got to come at it from like a different angle. And like I said, that the media don't like it when, if like they can sniff, if we're trying to promote our business, they'll sniff it and you're blocked. But if you can link your story of your business into something like Mother's Day or starting a business,
that human element, that
exactly, that's when they'll take it on. Even different wine days, and you could even link yours to International Beer Day. You know, there's so many opportunities, and that's how my brain works. Is I work with business owners and go, right, and then I'll just get all this thing of, right, okay, here's all the different opportunities where we could pitch your business to the media, and we'll do this as a brainstorming session anyway. And then you've got like this whole media strategy of going, oh gosh, I thought I had two opportunities, but I've got 22 that where I can pitch to the media, and they may not all be successful because you can't guarantee ever that you will get into the media. No one in the media can say yes, you know, you're going to get into the media, and that's why I prefer to teach people to do it themselves. Because if I'm pitching somebody to the media and they don't get into the media, that's really awkward because they still have to pay me. But you can't guarantee it. So I much prefer to teach people how to do it. Much prefer. Teach you how to fish. Oh, thank you.
Artia, how are you?
Sorry.
Are you able to hear me?
Oh, yes. Hello. Hi, Arati.
Good to hear about you and good to know so much about you and see your family and the background. As you know, we are meeting for the first time. So thank you for this session. I had a couple of questions regarding what you have just pitched. So I guess you answered it in a nutshell, but I'm not pretty clear about it. So the program that you're offering helps an individual to build a media content.
Yes.
Okay, my question there is, the media content needs to be reached or be published in the media, maybe any media, and who does that? Do you do that, or what actually happens there?
So I will teach you how to write a media release and then who to send it to. So I will be encouraging you in the 4 weeks that we're working together to send a media release out because the opportunities will be there. So then you can actually practice that, sending a media release out to, let's say it's 3BA or ABC Radio.
So you have contacts with the local media that we can use to publish the media?
Yes, of course. Yeah, lots of local contacts, definitely. And I'm always happy to share them. Thanks, Belinda. Yeah, always happy to share them. So anyone that I work with, I'm like, so the example that I showed with Malcolm at Cubby House and Di at the Shared Table, 2 local businesses. So I helped them with the media release and I said, right, this is who you're going to send it to. This is their name. This is their email. And this is the time of the day and the date I want you to send it, because we were going for International Beer Day and we were positioning Di to be in the Saturday paper. I was stoked she got front page. That was amazing. I mean, you can't plan that. Can't promise that. But we were hoping that she'd get picked up for the Saturday paper. And because obviously that's the most read one, is the Saturday paper, particularly for the courier. You want a Wednesday or a Saturday. So yeah, definitely teach you all of that, when the best time to send it is, who to send it to. So very happy to share any of my local contacts. And for anyone that's in Queensland as well that's tuning in, it'll just be a little bit of research. So we'll maybe need to look at some local newspapers or radio stations and see who the anchor is or who the journalist is, and then it's just a matter of going through that list that I have and seeing how we format their email address. But yeah, that's yep.
Good to know that. And my second question for you was, I understand media has their own agenda, so media is looking for a story.
Yeah.
I understand, on the other hand, as a business owner, you're saying that, each one of you has your story, and the best time to put that story is if you have got something coming up, or, an event coming up, or you want to share some of your life challenges that you have put up with, and you want to share your story just to let people know about you.
Mhm.
But that alignment between what media is looking and what you're offering, how does that get aligned with each other?
It's really about understanding the opportunities for your business. So I'll teach you. I have like a PR calendar that has a lot of events, and then there's also a website that I refer to where you can go and search different things. So, for example, Small Business Week would be great for you. I can't remember when that is off the top of my head, but Small Business Week would be great for you to go out and have a story about how do you get started in business, for example, or the media love the top 5 tips. So what are the top 5 tips to starting a business if you've never started one before? And that could work really well for you, for a lot of people in here, actually. So you can have the top 5 tips to something, or if you're starting out, we've got a whole heap of hospitality businesses in Ballarat that are doing it really tough at the moment. So could you put a story together about, the things that they need to be looking at as a business coach? What are the most important things that they should be looking at to make sure that they can get through the next 6 months, for example? Because if they're running a hospitality business, and they know hospitality really well, or cooking, they mightn't have that insight of running a successful business that you have as a coach, right? So it's about sharing your expertise and how can you help your ideal customer unpack some of the stuff that they don't know. And the media goes, that's a great idea. Businesses are doing it really tough. Yes, let's get an expert in here to share their knowledge and their skills, because that would be a great thing for ABC Radio. Talk back. You ring up, have a chat with Archie. Let's talk about, all the credentials that you have, and people ring up and ask questions. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Yeah,
No worries. Or even like a local column. You could have a weekly column in the Ballarat Times. Jake was doing that in Bacchus Smash. Megan was doing that in Perth. It's not hard. I'm here to assure you, people, this is not hard. Once you know how the media work, it's really easy. It's just about speaking their language, and for those of us in the room who've done light language, it's about that frequency. So knowing how they work, how they speak, and then just knowing your business and the opportunities and the areas of your expertise, and then how they line up together, and looking for those opportunities because they're always there.
Sure. Thank you for the inputs, Nikki.
Oh, pleasure. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it, Archie. Any other questions? You guys are amazing for hanging around for so long. Any questions, Pauline? What else have we got here? Sean? Shana? Is that it? Anyone? Oh, yep. Any other questions? Thanks again, everybody. You guys rock. I really so humbled that you've all tuned in live to listen to me speak. I could honestly just go on about days and days and days for this, because it's just so powerful. So thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful night, and I will send you the recording as well. Thanks, Pauline. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Shana.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Jazz. It's still there. Thanks, Jazz. I'll be in touch for your free media release. And I'll see you soon, Sheree. Okay, thanks.
All right, Nikki, I'm gonna stop recording. All right, I'm gonna